Hey guys, welcome to episode 21 of Pineapple Knits. I'm Marina, and you can visit me on Instagram and Ravelry at Pineapple Yarn, and you can visit my hand-dyed yarn company at pineappleyarn.com. So welcome back to the podcast. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. I'm coming to you from Central Indiana, where I live with my husband and a house full of kids, and I knit and spin in my spare time, which is limited, but it keeps me sane and helps me look forward to just trudging through all of the little kid life, right? So thank you so much for joining me today. It is a very gray day here in Central Indiana. As I've learned through, well, I guess since last year when we moved here, it is common. So I think I'm gonna have to invest in a set of lights for the podcast because I just can't really rely on natural light, unfortunately. But like I said, if you're new to the podcast, I actually moved here last year from Hawaii, and that is where I gain a lot of my inspiration for my crafting. And so if you like bright colors and you like knitting, you like the fiber arts, then you are in the right place. So I hope you've had a great week. And the first thing I want to show you guys is my hipster shawl's finished. I'm so excited. This is called the Hipster Shawl. It's by Locatelli, and I had such a fun time with this knit. It is knit from worsted weight yarn. It is very wearable. I've already worn it. And yeah, it just, with the worsted weight, it just kind of flies off your needles. It's a very, I'd say it's a very simple pattern. It does have some really large yarn overs here. Let me go ahead and show you a close-up. So the shawl itself is huge. I'm petite, so I don't have a huge wingspan, but we're talking this long, all the way to this long. I'm going as far as I can here. But this is, like I said, very wearable. It's a wonderful shape. It's mostly garter stitch, which I've said in the past I don't really care for. I just don't like huge, all garter stitch. But this has a lot of interest, so it's not just trudging through garter, right? So here there's a really nice texture section. There's actually two texture sections between the large kind of X yarn overs. I'm still not really sure what they're called, but you can see how those crisscross. It's really, really neat, I think. And then at the bottom are some tiny little fringy tassels, and honestly, I think it really makes the pattern. I really, really like these little tassels. But yeah, this is just such a wearable shawl, which I love, because a lot of shawls, I mean, let's be honest, they're really fun to knit, but it can be a little bit of a challenge to wear. And I'll be the first one to admit, I love the bright shawls, I love the crazy patterns, but it can be hard, just finding the right clothes to wear with them. But this is so cute, I think. And I think it's just gonna be a really fun accessory to wear as it gets colder. It matches a lot of things. Let me talk about the yarn. Like I've said in the past several podcasts, this is my yarn, pineapple yarn. It was kind of in a test colorway, so I don't have a name for it. And to be honest, I'm still tweaking the colorway. So I'm gonna try and get it to you guys in the shop eventually. I will let you know when I do that. But all in all, I'm really happy with this. I'm glad it's off the needles so I can finally wear it. I did want to point one thing out about the shawl, is that because these are such large yarn overs, they can be snagged very easily. I have had some little fingers pull them when I was wearing it this weekend, and I guess that's just the way it goes. So just a heads up, they can be snagged, but they can be just kind of picked back into place too. But yeah, it's a great pattern, and I'm really loving that it's a solid color because it's so wearable. So very excited about it. But let me show you one of the test knits that I finished this past summer and that I can show you now. I've shown you guys the yarn that I used for this test knit in past podcasts. I don't know which ones, but I actually did 3 test knits for Tin Can Knits this summer, and they recently released a book called Strange Brew, and it's a collection of colorwork patterns, sweaters, hats, cowls, and I was just so fortunate to test knit 3 patterns from this book. So last week I showed you the first pattern, and this week I'm going to show you the second pattern that I test knit. This little sweater is called Cartography, and I'm trying to think, it was the 6 to 12 month size, I believe, the one that I knit. Go ahead and show you guys a close-up. I'm sorry about the color being skewed. This was such a fun little knit though. It has color work all over the sweater. The pattern itself, I believe, starts at maybe a 0 to 6 months. So this was the second size, but it goes all the way up into adult sizes. And the colors I used are pineapple yarn in Pearl, Cornflower, and Shamrock. And I knit this for my son actually, and he has outgrown it since. I think he's only worn it a handful of times, but I loved on this sweater, I don't know if you guys can see, but the color work actually matches up with the sleeve. So when you are wearing it, or when the person's wearing it, the pattern actually goes from the sleeve all the way through the middle. But I knit this exactly to the pattern. It worked out great. I love Tin Can Knits patterns. I think that they are very, very well written, even for the testers, which is wonderful. This is a 1x1 rib on the neckline, cuffs, and hem. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It's just a super, super cute little sweater. And I wish that I had knit it in a larger size. Maybe I will eventually, right? I'm always casting new things on, but I thought this was really, really sweet. And I guess I did the 6 to 12 month size because I needed photos of him for the test knit, and it had to fit him right then and there. Otherwise, I would have made a larger size, but this was really, really cute, I think. So if you are interested in doing some color work, I'd highly recommend looking into Strange Brew by Tin Can Knits because they have some wonderful color work patterns. So I have one more test knit to show you, which I will show you next week. And yeah, it was really fun. Oh, you know what? One more thing I should tell you. This is actually a DK weight. So it's for a little size, a smaller size, the DK weight was perfect. And it really just flew off my needles. It really did. It was fun. You gotta love those smaller patterns. They go by so quickly. It's really fun. So yeah, another finished object. I want to show you one more finished object. It's very small, and I told you I would show you guys. Last podcast I told you I would show you. But this is a hat I made for my son. It is made out of Madelinetosh Lowland, and it was a skein of yarn I found in my stash. It is the prettiest, prettiest, prettiest blend of greens. And I had originally planned on putting a gold stripe in it, but when I started knitting, I was in the car and I went past the point where I wanted to put a stripe. So I just kept knitting. I figured, well, it's fine. And you know what? It ended up being fine because this, you can see a bit of pooling here, and that is almost like has a bit of blue in it. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't put the gold in it. It would have looked fine either way, but I think it's such a cute little hat. And I just made up a pattern. Most of the time I don't follow patterns. I just kind of make them up as I go. But I will try to get this on Ravelry for you guys. I know the other beanies that I made, I still haven't written down. Actually, you know what? I did write them down, and I wrote them down on a scrap of paper, and it got thrown away. So I really need to do that. I'll let you guys know when I update Ravelry, but this is Madelinetosh Tosh DK. So the DK weight is very nice. It's a single ply, which I think really makes colors shine. And so this is a nice little knit. Now I don't have to worry about him being cold. So the big work in progress this week, Stephen West has started the Texture Time Mystery Knit Along. And if you have been knitting that with the others who are, you will know that it's a little crazy. I don't know what else to say about it. If you don't want to be, or if you do want to be surprised, I'm going to put a timestamp down below, and you can just skip ahead in the podcast if you don't want to see it. I don't want to spoil any surprises. And I don't know about you guys, but I've actually been avoiding browsing Instagram a little bit because this year, I feel like maybe there's just more people doing the mystery knit along this year. I feel like there are a lot of projects being shown without spoiler photos as the first photo. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I just, I'm almost, I'm a little halfway past through the clue one, so it's not a real big surprise. If I do see a spoiler, but I just started browsing Instagram again today, and there are a lot of photos out there. So just putting that out there. Okay, so here is where I am at on clue number 1. It is a Stephen West pattern. I don't know what else to say. It is an unusual shape. It is a little crazy, and it has lots of ends. None of this is surprising. I didn't show you guys the yarns last week that I had used, and I know that these colors are probably a little surprising if you have seen my color choices in the past. I decided to pull a kit from my shop and use it, and the colors are not my normal go-tos. They are a little, to me this is neutral. Maybe not to some of you, but to me this is definitely neutral. Let me show you what the yarns I have used. So for my main color, I'm using Heritage, which is a really pretty purple, some variegated colors in there. I really, really love this. For my contrasting color number 1, I am using Siren Song, which is this really pretty, kind of aqua color. I think it has a little bit of lavender in it, some speckles. Color number 2, or contrast color number 2, I'm using Pale Mauve, which has some brown undertones. Now this is a neutral. That's crazy, right? That's definitely not my go-to normally. Then contrast color number 3 is Let's Sleep In, and it kind of pulls in some of that mauve. It has blues, some lavenders. I don't know if you can see that. But all of these colors work really well together. And then for the pop, this is Teal Wing, and it is in the special base that I acquired specifically for my kits for this pattern. It is not a mohair silk that you normally see that is a lace weight. This is actually a fingering weight, and it is very, very close to the base that is specified for in the pattern. So I was excited to find this. This was a kind of a luxury yarn. I will not be stocking this because it's so just very specific. It's a very, very beautiful yarn, but yeah, I won't be stocking it. It's so glossy and shiny. I love it. But those are my color choices, and I do have one of these kits left in the shop if you are interested. But I don't even know really what to say about this. It has been a very interesting construction. I'll say that. I was actually chatting with someone on Instagram a little bit, and she is more of a neutrals gal, and she actually chose bright colors. And I don't know, it sounded to me like she ended up just kind of ditching the bright colors and decided to go with neutral. And she said, you know, the crazy construction is kind of surprise enough, and then to add on colors you're not comfortable with, that it might be just a little much. And you know what? I think I agree with her. I really wish I had done this in some brighter colors, just because I love bright colors. But, you know, I just wanted to challenge myself a little bit. These colors are not neutral by any means. They're just neutral to me. But I do like how it's coming along. I mean, the colors are really, they're very interesting. They're very beautiful. I'm not getting bored knitting this at all. And so yeah, I don't know where this is going to go. I mean, this is a crazy construction so far. This is brioche, but it's syncopated brioche, which means that, you know, normally if you're familiar with brioche, it is kind of rows of one, or columns, I should say, columns of one color, and then if you flip it, it's kind of the reverse. This is actually my reverse. This brioche is not like that. It's actually kind of broken columns, if that makes any sense. So there's a lot of texture in here. It is called Texture Time, which is, it's really living up to its name right now. I don't know. We'll just see how the pattern goes. I mean, it's not that I feel negatively about it. I do like these colors. I think they play really well together, especially, you know, it's a bit of a challenge choosing kits or choosing coordinating yarns for a pattern when you don't even know what the pattern is going to be. So I think as far as these color choices, they look awesome together. They look really good together. I think the pattern will definitely keep it interesting. It'll keep me guessing. And if you think about it, it's what, 4 clues maybe? So 4 weeks, I'll be done and I can move on to something hot pink, right? So, yeah, I don't know. We'll just see where this pattern goes. It's definitely interesting, and I'm happy with it. It's I had to restart it, I think, 4 different times because I was just not, I would do it at night, and I was not getting it at all. It was not clicking in my mind, but it actually has come together. And the other thing I was going to say is that I always print out Stephen West patterns because it seems like I'm always marking it up and I have to do like checklists for myself to make sure I'm on the right row and that I have the right color. His patterns are so interesting, but if you haven't done the pattern, I don't want to dissuade you from doing it, because even though they tend to be challenging, he has videos. There are so many people who are knitting this pattern right now that you can go on Ravelry, you can find groups to help you, or his group, there are people to help you. It is wonderful. The support is awesome. So, you know, it's just supposed to challenge you, have fun with it. And I can say that his patterns have definitely challenged me and made me a better knitter. So I'm sure this pattern will be no different. I have no idea how this shape is going to become a shawl, but that is the beauty in his patterns, is they're a little crazy. They're a little crazy. So yeah, so far so good. And I think the colors, like I said, the colors work great together. They're definitely not my go-to. And, but I think that's okay, just to mix it up a little bit. So wait until next week. I'm sure the shape will be completely different, and we'll just see where it goes from there. So I haven't worked at all on my throwback cardigan this week because I have been focusing solely on the mystery knit along. And so it's kind of has set aside, but hopefully with this mystery knit along, I can finish the clue and then have a few days before the next clue so I can work on the throwback a little more. But the other thing that I want to talk to you guys about is that Spinzilla just ended, and I actually finished another skein of yarn, and I want to go ahead and show you guys. So this is the other skein that I finished, and I love it. Now these are my colors. This is so beautiful. I mean, this is my go-to right here. I love this yarn so much. I cannot wait to knit with it. This was from a braid that I purchased from Created by Elsie B. It's called Pool Party. And I did show you guys the braid, so if you can remember, it was hot pink, blue, yellow, kind of a chartreusey yellow. You can see right there. And what I did is I just split the braid up the middle, separated the colors, and so for one ply I did, lots of pink all together, lots of chartreusey yellow all together, and then for the other ply, I think what I did is I split that part of the braid into two, so it was like 2 quarters, and then spun each of those individually. The way that I have been spinning for the past 2 skeins has been kind of like a long backwards draw. I think that's the technical term. Basically, I am, whatever kind of fiber, I am pulling it back quite a ways and then letting the twist enter. I was doing a short forward draw, so that is quite the departure, but it has allowed me to spin tremendously fast. And so yeah, I'm still working on my technical terms, but anyway, I'm very happy with this. I think it's very, very pretty, and I am pretty happy with how this turned out. It actually is a blend of BFL and Firestar, and I did notice one thing that with this, and I don't know if it's because of, it had to be because of the Firestar, because BFL has a bit of toothiness to it. I had to let a lot of twist enter the fiber when I would draft it. So I would draft it backwards, and then I would have to let a lot of twist enter. And I think it must be because of the nylon, because of the Firestar nylon. Maybe it just made it a little slippery. I don't really know, but all I know is that if it didn't have enough twist, it fell apart. So I haven't had to twist kind of a merino, because I've spun mostly merino since I have had my wheel, and I just haven't had to twist it that much, but it was a great challenge. I enjoyed spinning a different fiber blend, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought the dyeing was really great. I cannot wait to make another purchase from Created by Elsie B because she's a beautiful dyer and it was a lot of fun. So what this is going to become, I have no idea. I would say it is between a, maybe, you know, it's probably between a sport and a DK, kind of like the other skein I showed you last week. So both of those were pretty consistent sizes, I don't know, gauges. I don't know, my mind's a little hazy today, guys, but anyway, this was fun. It has a beautiful sheen and it's very soft, so it was fun. But I think for Spinzilla I'm trying to think how many Spinzilla yards I had. Total, maybe, I want to say around 1,500. I think that's about right. About 1,500 Spinzilla yards, which it's not the most, definitely. I mean, I've seen people who have spun so much this past week, but I also was gone this weekend. So I only spun for maybe I think I spun for about 4 days. And, you know, maybe a couple of hours in the evening, maybe, not even that much. But anyway, I'm pretty proud with the results I've had, and, you know, happy just to use up some of my stash, and so I don't feel so bad when I go to buy fiber next time, because I'm actually using it. But yeah, this was a fun project. So in shop news, I do have an update this Friday, October 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm actually not putting any yarn into the shop this week. I just didn't really get there. I really wanted to concentrate on my project bags. And so I have several fabric patterns of my sock wristlets that I'm going to be putting in the shop. So I showed you this one last week, and it's so beautiful. It is I can't remember if it's a Japanese fabric or Japanese inspired fabric, but it has this really pretty kind of a aqua and blue calico type print inside. And I showed you guys this last week also, but if you're not familiar with my sock wristlets, they're so, so nice. Portable project bags, great for socks or small projects. And what you do is you take the long handle and just thread it into the short handle. And what that does is it makes a great closure with no zippers or any kind of fasteners. But then you can go ahead and put your hand through the strap, so you can just knit, and it is a great portable little bag. I really don't like things on my wrists. I don't wear a lot of jewelry. I just don't like, just feels really heavy to me. I just don't care for it most of the time. But I have found that these don't fatigue my wrists. I know that sounds very kind of pathetic, but anyway, there's the blue waves, and I do have its green counterpart, which I think is really, really pretty. And it also has that really pretty contrasting fabric on the inside. And then I acquired this really pretty whimsical pineapple fabric, which I think is pretty. It reminds me of Hawaii, just very, you know, lighthearted and fun and very cheery. And this This actually has pink on the inside. I love this color of pink because it is super bright and cheerful. So I think that is such a cute bag. And I also made some of my fun black and white polka dots. Love these dots. And it has that really bright pink on the inside too, which I love. Love this fabric. And then the final pattern that I have today is this one. I call this Sunny Days. Sunny Days? I'm pretty sure. And it has a really pretty kind of tomato red orange, which I love. It's such a pretty color. But I really love this bag, this pattern. And this is actually the pattern of bag that I use. So, yay! Those are the bags I'll have in the shop. It is a small update, but that's just the way it goes this week. And I have a ton of yarn in the shop. So, yeah, if you guys don't see something you want, just shoot me an email. You can actually contact me at pineappleyarn.com. I have a contact button, and yeah, for the rest of this week, I will actually be dyeing lots of mini skeins for my advent calendars. So I am getting those going. I am in the middle of dyeing, and so those will be going out in November. And I'll probably be starting on some yarn dyeing for next week's shop update, or not next week's, but in 2 weeks. So I don't usually, unless I dye very early in the week, I actually can't dye for a same week's update just because it takes a long time to dry. And I like to have everything, basically when I have a shop update, all of my yarn is labeled, ready to go. I try to get things out the following day. For those of you who have ordered from me before, I hope that you've been happy with the shipping speed. A lot of you have messaged me just to say how quickly you've received your orders, which makes me happy because I love when I get my orders quickly, when I order from different makers. So, yeah, you want your yarn, you want your goodies quickly, right? So, yeah, I usually don't dye the same week unless it's very early in the week. So this week I didn't get to it. I was finishing up project bags. So, yeah, I'm going to hit the dye pots probably later today and tomorrow for the rest of the week. And so I can get those advent calendars all set up, and so I can get some more yarn in the shop. But yeah, that's all I have to share with you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and if you did, I would love if you could hit a thumbs up to like the podcast and also subscribe. But until next time, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye, guys.